Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today is an exciting day. We are going to start a new series here, at least for the next few weeks. So everybody's favorite buddy, Mr. John Emerson, sent me a big old box of knives. Most all of these are replicas of some sort or other, and we're going to dive into these knives over the next few weeks or so. We're going to start today with what is a Kershaw Bel Air. This is a replica. This is not the real thing. Before we get too deep in here, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button down below. Nope, thumbs up down below. Subscribe, notification bell, all that fun stuff. Love to have you join our little band of renegades. I'm curious if anyone else has got this knife. Hit me up in the comments. This is a bit of a unicorn from what I can tell, in as much as, you know, the Kershaw Bel Air, one of their most popular models, right? We know they made this in all kinds of variations, different handles, different blades, different finishes, different steel, etc. But from what I can tell, as far as having plastic or G10 scales, only the Bel Air XL, which is the big version, this is not the XL, only the Bel Air XL comes in the G10 scales with the what they call the reverse tanto, which is also kind of a curious thing, in G10 scales. So I don't think this actually exists for real in the Kershaw lineup, but maybe if any of y'all out there are Kershaw experts, you can let me know if this actually did come in a regular size Bel Air in what I'm going to call G10 scales. I don't even think these are G10. I think they're kind of just plastic. If I hit the light on that just right, you can see they're almost like semi-transparent plastic. Of course, it has a steel liner, so you're not really going to be able to see through there, but you have to trust me on this. This is pretty much semi-opaque, semi-transparent plastic, I believe. Most of the Bel Air line are almost all in aluminum scales in the regular size version. So let's dive in. We'll take a quick look at the good, the bad, the ugly. We've all seen these boxes before coming out of China. They have done their best to mock up the Kershaw box. Didn't really come with anything as far as I can tell in the box, except for this little semi-instruction thing I can never get out of here. It's all crumpled up. That's the only thing that I saw in the box, and probably the only thing that came in the box. I don't know if it was wrapped or not. John had obviously opened these knives before he sent them to me, so yeehaw for that. Typical Chinese replica stuff. All right, let's dive into the specs. I'll bring the specs up down the left side of the screen. On the right-hand side, you can see this is a Temu version. I forgot to mention, John got this on Temu for $8.30. In the full open position, this is pretty close to the original, 7.3. Depends on how you measure it, because you've got this, you got the pocket clip, which does extend past the edge of the knife blade, or the handle. So 7.5 out to the end of the very deep carry pocket clip here, or 7.3 if you just go to the scale. So that's pretty close to the original. Blade is pretty close, 3.125. I never understood why they will do a 3.125 blade, knowing that just over 3 inches makes it illegal in many of the states around the country. So why would you do that? Why not just go like 2.99 versus 3.1? I don't know, but you know, that's what they do. In closed length, this is 4 1/4 inches versus 4 1/8. Again, depends on, I guess, where you're measuring this thing from. The blade thickness on this one is a little bit thicker, actually, than the original Bel Air. This is 110 thousandths, which to me is kind of a Goldilocks size, nice and just thick enough to where you have a lot of confidence. You're not worried you're going to be breaking or snapping the blade. The original at 0.08 at 80 thousandths, which would be considerably thinner than this, noticeably thinner. The handle thickness on this one is considerably thicker than the original, and that is because these scales are plastic scales over steel liners, where the original is an all aluminum type scale. To be honest with you, I prefer the almost half an inch. Half an inch is kind of a Goldilocks size for the grip, the handle. To me, it just fills the hand just about perfectly without being oversized at all. Some of those thinner scales, like that 0.4 and under, where the original is, that feels a little thin to me, and I don't really care for that as much. Blade finish is a black wash. It does appear to be a stone washed finish with some kind of black wash. It's not really a paint. It's almost a dye, I guess, of some sort that's in there. So it's not like you're going to scrape this off. This finish should last a pretty good while, even in this version. Full flat grind, as you can see here. The scales in the original, as I mentioned, usually are aluminum. These are plastic over steel liners. The original has a MagnaCut steel. I have no idea what the steel is. This one does say MagnaCut on it, but we can be certain that this is not a MagnaCut blade at $8.30, right? The weight on this one, a little bit heavier than the original also, again, because plastic with steel liners, 3.5 ounces, a little over, versus just under 3 ounces for the original. It does have the same Dura-Lock, which is their version of the Axis lock. We'll take another look at that in just a minute. As I mentioned, this one came in at $8.30. You can still buy these. I saw some online. And the original in the aluminum scales with the real MagnaCut comes in at about $160 for that. I did measure. I always try to measure behind the edge. It actually is pretty thin and slicey 17 thousandths behind the edge. So that's pretty good. All right, let's go back and do some size comps. I usually try to do the size comps at the beginning, but obviously forgot to do those this time out. So we have, as always, our PM2, in this case, the 𝗥𝗲𝗃, which is still a fantastic favorite to me. This is obviously closer to the Para-3, with a little bit more cutting edge than the Para-3. So pretty good size as far as EDC sizes go. Do one more set of comparisons here. I always like to do this 𝗲𝗃 Vision FG. And let's do the 𝗏𝗲𝗃𝗃 Raccoon. You can see much shorter than the Vision and right on par with the Raccoon. Not quite as much belly, but just about as much cutting length. Pretty close overall size. So right there in that good EDC size. One more. We always do the dollar bill now because y'all have decided that you like the dollar bill comparison. I'm going to put the handle here, or sorry, the pocket clip at the back. Then I'll line it up with the handle. So there you go on a dollar bill. You can see a little bit longer, about 1.5 inches longer than your dollar bill. All right, knocking it out. All right, let's take a bit of a closer look here. The pocket hardware check, we've got T6s on the body, which is true to form. We do have a captive pivot. You can see here, this has got this hexagon-shaped captive pivot over here on this side, T8 on the pivot screw, T8 on the locks. I did have to take this thing apart, clean it up a little bit, and T6 on the pocket clip. Pocket clip is a reversible style, nice and easy. Kershaw makes some pretty good pocket clips, a little bit high for my liking, but not too bad. I've certainly seen worse. Good in terms of the firmness of that pocket clip, good springiness to it. I think that one should last pretty good time. The scales, as I mentioned, plastic over steel. They are not milled out, so there's no lightning cuts in there in those steel liners. If I can get that light just right, top or bottom, hopefully you can see that. Just take my word for it. No back spacers, just as the typical barrel spacers all the way around. That's fine, makes it nice and easy to keep it clean. Let's see, it's grippiness. So there's a little bit of a texture to this. I'm going to say this is maybe like a 1000 grit sandpaper. So it's not like really, really smooth. It's very smooth, but there is a little bit of grippiness to it, which is a good thing because there's not a lot of jimping on this knife. It's one of the things I noticed. There's jimping down here where you're gripping it, I guess, with your pinky. I am a size large glove, in case you're wondering about the size of it. You could certainly choke up and put your finger up here easily as well. That's what I would do in cardboard cutting. So size large glove, you could be an extra large and this knife would still work pretty well for you. Locking mechanism, this is a very solid mechanism. You can spine whack it. The Axis lock are known for being very well done, and this one is also well done. As you can see, the action on it's really good. It's obviously riding on some bearings. These are different bearings. Well, I don't know if they're different or not. I opened these up. These are steel bearings, but they're in like a Teflon plastic washer, if that makes sense. It's not like the open face brass bearings that we see in so many of these knives. So I think that's actually pretty good. It's got great action, as you can see. It doesn't bounce out, which is something that I'm a big fan of. It's very smooth on the open and close. There's no, obviously, detent because of the Axis lock provides the spring, provides the detent on that. But I'm going to say this is actually really well dialed in terms of the detent or deployment. It's nice, it's smooth, it's easy. You can reverse flip it just as easily. All is good there. Blade shape. So they call this a reverse tanto, which is a bit of a weird thing to me. To me, this is more like a modified sheep's foot, or maybe a modified Wharncliffe with a big belly. I guess you can call this whatever you want. I probably wouldn't have chosen reverse tanto for this blade shape. Either way, it's a good shape. It makes it nice and easy for EDC cuts. We do a lot of opening packages like this and slicing things like that because that nice low tip there, you don't have to reach up too high. So I'm a big fan of this blade shape overall. It does have just enough of a belly. I think it will do pretty good in the rope cutting. What I have discovered is that the absolutely flat, straight across blades are very difficult to do any kind of table cutting, like cutting into the rope or even into the hose when we do our cut testing. The thickness, as I mentioned, pretty much dead on. It stays fairly thick out towards the tip of the blade, so I'm not too worried about that. It does thin out a good bit, as most all blades do, but it does maintain its thickness almost all the way till you start getting really towards that blade tip. So I feel pretty good about this. As far as an EDC, everyday work knife, not having to worry about it, I could do some light prying kind of stuff with it and not worry about that a whole lot, especially at, you know, under $9. Not going to worry about that at all. I have no idea what the steel is, obviously, so that's a bit of a thing. There's no jimping on the top of the blade. Some people will like that, some people won't. Just thought it's worth pointing out. There's not much of a forward choil. There's a nice sharpening choil they put into here, obviously. This is more of a finger ledge. You could absolutely use it, as I said just a minute ago, for light cutting, cardboard, stuff like that. I probably would be choked up here. So all good with that. The blade pin is nice and beefy, actually, for blade pins. As far as this goes, there's no real shouldering on the blade here. There's a little bit of wobble right now. That is minuscule, and that's because I took it apart. I may need to redial that thing back in there. But no pivot lash at all, and then detent lash doesn't exist because there's no detent ball in here. It's pretty true to the original overall. Blade centering is off, and that may again be because I have it's a little bit loose right now, and I probably just need to tighten it up. I'll tighten it up. Factory sharp. I'm going to say this thing came really sharp out of the factory. Let's see here. Yeah, that's actually nice and sharp. I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. And y'all know that I'm a picky guy these days when it comes to knife sharpness. So 10 out of 10. It came pretty good. The grind is not completely even. It's, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. We'll get a little closer look on the grind there. Pretty good on this side, but on this side, as you get towards the heel of the blade up here, you can see it really thins out a little bit. That's pretty common for what you get with these Chinese knives. They don't take a whole lot of time or attention, but as I mentioned, it came plenty sharp out of the box, so I'm all right with that. No issues. Ergonomically, it's a perfect size and shape for EDC. Like I say, I prefer the little bit thicker that the plastic and the steel liners gives me. It fills out my hand a little bit better. This is very comfortable in this position right here. We already talked about the draw cuts, easy enough, pinch cuts. You can do a little carving, stuff like that. You can get your finger out on there. All positions ergonomically, it's good. There's no hot spots. The clip is done pretty well. That could potentially be a little bit of a hot spot if you're really bearing down. We'll have to see how that plays out in the big picture of things. It's probably grippy enough. It's one of the things I look for is, you know, if my hands get wet or sweaty, I don't want to be dropping the knife. I'm looking for jimping or grippiness on it. All is good right there. Feels good in the hand. Any negatives to this knife? Biggest one will be obviously the steel. We have no idea what kind of steel this is, and coming out of Temu, it could be just about anything. I've not sharpened it, so I don't really have a sense of the quality of the steel from a sharpening perspective. But overall, I mean, you always have to complain, I guess, about T6 body screws, but that's what they put on all of them, so it's really kind of hard to complain about that. The pocket clip might stick up just a little bit high. I'm not, not too worried about that, to be honest with you, and I'm definitely not worried about it at a, sub $10 knife. Ergonomics are good. Action is good. I'm going to say the overall impressions, the quality on this replica is a pretty good quality knife. And again, I'm interested to know if y'all have gotten one of these and what you think about it. Do you have the plastic over steel liners? That would be the dead giveaway because Kershaw never really made one, as far as I can tell. Plastic over steel liners, unless you get into the XL, and they have a G10 version in the XL, but this is the regular size. So let me know what y'all think. Have y'all had any experience with this? How did it hold up for you? That's the big question. We'll find that out once we get to the cutting test. Otherwise, again, if you haven't already, throw me a thumbs up. That certainly helps the channel out. I always appreciate that. Hit the subscribe, notification bell if you're into these kind of videos and want to see more. We'd love to have you join our band of renegades. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys as always. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.